What's up guys, in today's video we're going to be putting some theory into practice by showing you guys how I actually research stocks before I invest into them. But first off, a big shout out to those of you guys who left a comment down in the comment section on my previous video requesting for a stock in which I should analyze in the video in which you're watching today. I went through the list and one stock which came up on multiple occasions is a stock in which I'm going to be talking about during today's video. My aim for this video is to provide you guys with a comprehensive breakdown of what I personally look at when I'm looking to research a stock, and whilst I might not be able to cover absolutely everything off in complete depth, what I will try to do is provide additional direction whilst I'm talking through some of the key topics within this video as some additional takeaways for you guys. But before I jump into the video guys, my name is Mitch. I post all kinds of videos on investing and the stock market. If you do enjoy content like that, hit that big red subscribe button down below as well. Drop a like on the video guys, it really helps out the channel. And with that being said, let's dive straight into it. So the stock of your choice which we are going to research today is a company called Etsy. Now Etsy have been a huge growth stock over most recent years with the transition towards buying gifts online, and due to this they've seen a huge amount of stock growth over the course of the past 12 months of 365%, and over the past 5 years they've seen stock growth of 3,249%, admittedly one of the quickest growing growth stocks over the course of the past half a decade. Now whilst I completely understand this stock might not be of interest to absolutely every single one of you guys out there, however some of the key topic headings which I'm going to discuss with you will certainly be transferable to absolutely any single stock out there. So first up, the first thing we're going to dive into is the annual income statement. So in order to do this, we're going to go onto Google and we are going to search for Etsy's 10K filing, which is in essence what's filed with the SEC over in the United States. Now the first and probably the most obvious thing that you're going to want to look at for any kind of new stock in which you're researching in this 144-page document is obviously going to be the business overview. And that's simply because, as Warren Buffett says, you should never invest into a business in which you fundamentally don't understand. So reading through the business overview and getting a little bit of an understanding about what the business does, how it makes money, strategic direction for the future will hopefully give you a little bit more of an understanding of whether you personally think it's going to be a successful long-term investment or not. So to give you guys the details on Etsy, it says Etsy operates two-sided online marketplaces that connects millions of passionate and creative buyers and sellers. Our mission is to keep commerce human, and we're committed to using the power of business and technology to strengthen communities and empower people all around the world. Etsy's primary marketplace is obviously their website Etsy.com, which is the global destination for unique and creative goods. We have a seller-aligned business model. We make money when our sellers make money. We offer Etsy sellers a marketplace with millions of buyers online. Now that's obviously kind of similar to the business model in which Amazon have, whereby private label sellers can list their goods on Amazon's website. The core difference being here, where Amazon you can find absolutely any single product on there, Etsy is more focused on the kind of creative crafts and personalized niche. So with that being said, I think Etsy's business model on the whole is very much a strong one and very much a popular one based on the mega trends in which we're seeing in the transition towards buying online. It's a little bit of a mixture of eBay and Amazon, however with Etsy focusing very much on crafts and kind of the personalized goods, which is certainly a trend in itself, and because of that the business has very much been booming. So with that in mind, now let's talk about the market opportunity. And what I mean by that is I'm not just looking at the business, but I'm also looking at the wider market on the whole. Is that market in which I'm investing into actually growing in size and scale? So to give you guys an insight, here is what Etsy had to say. We believe that the nature of commerce is continuing to evolve. More people are choosing to purchase goods online, and many consumers are looking for unique items as an alternative to mass-produced goods. We estimate that the online market size across all relevant retail categories for the Etsy marketplace within our 6 core geographic markets, which are the United States, United Kingdom, Canada, Germany, Australia and France, represents a $249 billion market opportunity, but by 2023, they estimate that the online market opportunity will expand to $437 billion. So that is a compounded annual growth rate between 2020 and 2023 of just over 25%. And to give you guys additional context, Etsy's full year revenue for 2019 was $818 million. So considering we've got a market size by 2023, which is touching on $500 billion, there's a huge amount of upside potential to play with here. Now, the first thing that I would observe from reading through those statements is Etsy's ability to expand their core geographic markets. There is huge untapped markets for Etsy. There's large parts of Europe which are fundamentally missing from what they consider their core geographical markets, as well as the Asian market too, which is absolutely massive. So talking of markets, now let's dive into the company's competitive landscape. Because guys, it's not just about researching a company and then investing into that company based on the research research in which you've done, it's also comparing that company to other competitors within the industry. What you don't want to do when you're investing is have a tunnel vision on one single company, because when you've only researched one company can look great until you compare it to that of another. So with that in mind, it's always useful to have the wider competitive landscape on the top of your mind too. So Etsy have written, we face intense competition and we may not be able to compete effectively. Now, to be honest guys, as a headline statement, that's pretty concerning from a shareholder confidence point of view. Now, the rationale which Etsy have provided for this is that we compete for sellers with both retailers and companies that sell software and services to small businesses. You've got online retailers like Amazon, eBay, Alibaba, and now there's social media to consider with the likes of Facebook and Instagram, as well as those that go down their own route of building their own websites with platforms like Shopify and Wix. So there is a big combination of online competition here that Etsy will certainly have to overcome. And what you would hope is that Etsy's upside potential isn't capped for the future ahead if these sellers start to move on to other platforms. But nonetheless, their overall business model, the trend in which they're capitalizing on, which isn't going away anytime soon, along with their business model, along with future growth opportunities as well, I think Etsy certainly look like a good proposition. But there are certainly some risks for Etsy as a business model, which you can read more about in the annual report. Now, the next thing that I do want to dive into is the 3 core financial statements. The first one being the profit and loss account. The first thing to look at is revenue, because that shows the overall demand for Etsy as a business, as well as the products being sold on their platform too. And to be honest guys, it's growing absolutely massively. Over 100% growth year on year between Q3 2019 and Q4 20. So that's a big tick in the box from a growth perspective point of view. The second thing to look at is the company's net income, because that shows whether the business is actually profitable or not. And sometimes when you're looking at growth stocks, sometimes those businesses are making huge losses. But Etsy, on the other hand, has actually 6x their earnings from Q3 2019 to Q3 20, which is obviously a really positive thing. Now, one of the key things to look at here is obviously the company's profit margins, because their e-commerce competitors can typically run quite tight margins, with the likes of Amazon with a profit margin of 5.53% and Etsy on the other hand at 16.83%. Now, obviously the size and the scale of both of those businesses are vastly differ, and the business models are slightly different too. So you would obviously expect Amazon to have potentially slightly lower margins, but nonetheless Etsy look like they're still presenting pretty healthy profit margins. Now, from the P&L, we can work out a couple of key financial ratios. The first one being the company's price to earnings at 124.1, and the second being the company's price to sales at 21.1. So firstly, the price to earnings ratio does certainly feel a little bit high, paying 124 times their current earnings, but with earnings growth forecasted to be around 300% from 2019 to 2020, we could see the stock a little closer to fair value over the course of the coming years ahead if earnings can certainly outstrip the rate of stock price growth. Now, for comparison, Amazon's price to earnings is 41.83 and eBay's of 7.89. The only big difference here is that not Amazon or eBay are seeing the same kind of growth rates that we've seen for Etsy. And because of that, there's a premium priced into Etsy's stock currently. Price of sales, on the other hand, doesn't feel all that bad at 21.1. But when compared to competitors Amazon at 4.37 and eBay at 4.12, you could arguably suggest that you may find better value by investing into their competitors. But again, let's think about the growth in revenues for a second, because when we're investing into a growth stock, obviously that figure is an extremely important one to consider. So Etsy's quarter-on-quarter revenue growth is currently sat at 128.1%, Amazon at 43.6%, and eBay is pretty much flat at 1.7%. So again, you're certainly paying much more in terms of a premium for every dollar in sales in which you're getting in the company, but Etsy's growth rates are much bigger too. So because of that, there's a bit of a balancing act to consider. Not only do you need to think about the premium which you're paying for the stock, but also whether the growth and the forecasted growth for that stock actually outweighs the premium which you're paying. The next financial statement to call out is the company's balance sheet. For me personally, there are lots and lots of different elements to actually dig into when you're looking at the company's balance sheet, but one of the key ones for me to actually address the overall short-term financial stability of that company is to look at the company's current ratio, which is in essence a comparison of the company's current assets versus that of the company's current liabilities. Now, Etsy are rocking a very comfortable current ratio ratio at 4.98, which is an extremely stable position for a big growth stock to be in. Amazon are slightly tighter on the financials with a current ratio of 1.05 and eBay at 1.8 respectively. Now remember, Etsy are a growing business model, so from a balance sheet and a financial stability point of view, this is an extremely positive figure to have, because by nature they'll want to have more cash on hand to plow back into the business, to reinvest back into the business in order to grow and expand their brand, to be able to compete more with a very, very competitive e-commerce landscape. The third financial statement is the company's cash flow. Fundamentally, if a growth stock is strapped for cash, they will find it extremely difficult to actually grow their business. So it's important that business is financially flexible. So because of that, we need to have a good understanding of the company's cash flow. Etsy currently have 513.87 million in free cash flow, Amazon at 66 billion, and eBay at 2.42 billion. So you can see that there's an absolute monstrous difference between these three companies. But to provide an element of comparison, let's compare this to the percentage of the company's sales. So Etsy's free cash flow as a percentage of their sales is currently sat at 62.8%, Amazon at 17%, and eBay at 23.5%. So Etsy are certainly sitting very cash heavy as of right now, which is certainly good from a financial stability and an ability to actually put money back into the business, but also potentially a little bit concerning on why they haven't potentially invested a little bit more of that money back into the business itself, because sometimes having too much cash isn't a good thing either. So to summarize, for me personally, Etsy is a great growth prospect and I consider it a very good investment opportunity, with the only reservation being that it's highly reliant on consistently strong growth in revenue and earnings over the coming years in order to justify their growth in stock price. Amazon for me is obviously going to be the favorite, and there's no doubt why they're already in my portfolio already. They're at the absolute top of the pecking order and the second biggest company on the planet, so for me personally, it just seems like a no-brainer. Then eBay, possibly a business model that hasn't evolved well enough over most recent years, with e-commerce sellers favoring websites like Amazon and Etsy, as well as others like Shopify and Wix, as we can see from the lack of revenue growth over most recent years. So in a nutshell guys, they are some of the core elements when I'm looking at researching a stock. There are of course many things which I've missed out during this video, but if I'm honest guys, I'd probably need a full-blown podcast in order to cover absolutely everything in all of its detail. But nonetheless, I hope you found a great amount of value in the video regardless. Be sure to let me know guys down in the comment section below what your favorite stock is between Etsy, Amazon and eBay. And as well guys, be sure to leave your tips down in the comment section below on what you guys do to research a stock before you actually invest into it. And with that said guys, if you did enjoy the video, be sure to drop a like on it, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here, and with that being said, I'll see you over in the next video.